All right, party people, it's time to pat myself on the back to tell you all how right I have been about the elections and a little bit about how wrong I've been. And I'm watching Trump get ready to announce his 24 run, But we'll talk about that as well as some other stuff. It's me by myself again, lonely self. So anyway, we're almost in agreement, almostagreement@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. While you're there, check out Voter Guide 22. Nope, that's over. And just check out the different stuff. You get links to all the shows. Our Facebook and Twitter and stuff are accessible from there as well. Give us a like, follow, friend, share, that kind of thing. Tell your friends about us. We're going to keep working on what we're working on. Buchanan's already announced her run, so we're already on to 23 elections for the city of Knoxville and conversation about that as well. So we're almost in agreement, and it's going to be showtime. All right, so how's it going? It's Tuesday night. Sam's a little bit under the weather. Max and AC are in the woods hunting. Sam and I, assuming Sam gets healthy, are going to catch up, but we'll do a show from the woods at some point. Yeah, so we had elections, and everything went almost exactly like I thought it was. Last time I checked, actually, I should have prepped better, and I didn't, like I do. The ballot items all were looking at passing, and that seemed crazy to me. I really didn't think that was going to happen. So I'll start off with where I was wrongs. I was wrong on all 4 ballot items. I didn't think any of them were going to hit threshold to pass. Turns out I did. So that's still unofficial on the Secretary of State site. But as of right now, let me back up a second before I go to those. The governor election obviously was Bill Lee. Total votes were less than 2 million votes. All right, so less than 2 million votes, which means 1 million is enough to pass a constitutional amendment. As of right now, 1's got 1.1 million, 2's got 1.1 million. 3 has 1.2 million, and 4 has 1 million flat. So it looks like all of them are going to cross the threshold, and all 4 amendments are going into place. I'm most surprised on 1. I figured 1 would have the most pushback, which it does not seem to. Given that one that one seemed to have more, I guess, tangible application in the real world for people to push back against. 2, 3, and 4 were all kind of ethereal and pointless. 3 and 4 especially were just updates to catch up to the year that it actually is instead of the 1890s or whatever. So 2 I figured wasn't going to pass because a lot of people would skip it. And number 1, well, correction, number 4 had the most no votes as a percentage, and as a total number at 592,000. That's 36.76% to 63.24%. And I'm going to blame that on voters not understanding that it doesn't matter. I think if anybody knew what the actual consequence of was voting yes or no on this, they would just. I think they would have just not voted, but not really understanding the consequence of it, not really getting what the point of it is. Yes is the correct vote because it gets our Constitution in line with the U.S. Constitution. That's all. That's it. It doesn't matter. 3 is about the same, 80-20. 3 was the most supported one at 80-20, and the most total yes votes, period. But number 1 had the second most no votes as a percentage and total number, being a 30% of the people that voted on Constitutional Amendment number 1 said no. And it looks to me like 75-80% of the population that voted for governor went ahead and did their constitutional amendments too. I'm very surprised how many people actually voted on these. So good for you, Tennessee. I just didn't think it'd pass the yes threshold. I figured Memphis and Nashville in and of themselves would have enough no's to make it, under a million. 1.5 million people voted. I figured we would have enough no's to get over 500,000 to make sure that it was under 1 million yeses. So I don't know. That's what I was wrong on. I'm surprised on it. I think it sucks. I think it's inappropriate, but it is where we are in Tennessee right now, and so that's what we got to deal with. So Elaine Davis won my seat in 2018. I'm not super psyched about it. I do intend to reach out to her shortly and try to talk to her about some of the upcoming stuff that's already on the table and already being talked about. We'll see as time progresses what that's going on with. And I've already got to start working on city races. As of right now, officially, Larson is not went publicly said he's not running. Excuse me, a little water. Went down sideways. Anyway, Larson said he's not running officially. And Daniel Herrera has also said that he is not going to seek re-election for party chair. They do their reorganization like in April or May. Which will have what I'm most curious about is whether they're going to get involved in this set of city races like they did the last one. In his statement, I believe he said they do intend to be part of it as they were last time around, but we'll see what the party does as a whole, who they elect as their new chair, and whether that new chair wants to continue down that path or kind of change direction and go back to leaving the city as is, if you will. So, I don't know the totality of what's on the ballot. As far as that one goes, we know the mayor's on there, and that's going to be big. And if the mayor's on there, that means it's going to be a higher turnout. The city primary, let's see here. Doesn't tell me what's up yet in the 23 city races. Just says the primary is in August 29th and the general is November 7th. But it'll be a couple council seats and the mayor. Probably about it. I don't think elected body-wise the city has many fewer elected members. It's got city council, and that's 9 members, right? Is that 11? Oh, I feel stupid. Anyway, city council, and the mayor's office, I think, is all the elected bodies, because the KPD is appointed by the mayor. All the different department heads are appointed by the mayor. So we'll see. But I'm going to try to pull it up real quick, see if I can't remember. Government, city council. All right. Tommy just got his seat. Seema just got her seat. Lauren just got her seat. Amelia just won her seat, I think. So we'll have about half of the city council and the mayor's office, and the mayor will be on the ballot. As of right now, that's all we know. Is we don't know if anybody's going to butt up against Mayor Kincannon and try to unseat her. I floated in conversation with some people that maybe Eddie Manis will do that, and that's why he didn't continue his house run. I really think Eddie Manis just hated his life and realized that running for the state office was a poor life choice and had to deal with the consequences for it. So, we'll see. I don't know what else to say, except we'll see who else gets in it. I'm curious to see what the city moves into. I personally have a bone to pick with some city officials. One of the things that a number of candidates, especially the Republican candidates, ran on is, how difficult it can be for businesses to get open and get operational and get all their permits and licensures and all that kind of stuff. And I personally am suffering from that in one of our businesses. We're opening a new place down in Happy Hollow. Go check it out eventually. But we have a bunch of back and forth with zoning and a bunch of back and forth with inspections and a bunch of back and forth with the fire marshal's office and all this different stuff. And we're just burning money. We're burning money waiting for whomever to come do whatever they need to do to get us open. It's not that we haven't done our part and what we were supposed to do, to the best of our understanding. We're not trying to cut corners or skip any important aspects of the process, and making sure that this is a safe and a physically safe building for people to come in and out of, that we are responsibly serving alcohol because we're getting a beer permit and all that kind of stuff. But yet here we are. This is the third week after we planned on being open that we're still not open because of the red tape issues. And so I'm curious if that's going to be a conversation in this upcoming election, because I know a lot of people talked about it in the last one, and those people didn't seem to win. And so for my end of it, I have a problem with that. And although I don't get the option to vote in the city race, but I will advocate on behalf of those who make my life easier as a business owner in the city. So, which to me brings up an interesting conversation, and we've talked about it on here with Chris Davis in the past. I don't remember the official title of it. Basically, I don't own the building that our business is going into. I own the business, but our building owner doesn't. Our building owner just bought the building, and he's currently a California resident. I think he's moving to Knoxville. I don't know if he's moving to city or county, but either way, he can vote in city races because he owns that building, regardless. Now, if he owns his house and it's also in the city, he has to pick which district, and he can only vote in one district for the primary, at least. But he only gets one vote in the general. He doesn't get to vote multiple times or in multiple primaries. So, I don't know. I'm curious. Again, I'm curious to see who steps up, and we'll see what figures emerge as far as that city campaign goes. Because I think we've got some interesting stuff in the pipeline. The stadium is still a project, and it's still a thing. I'm curious how much anybody runs on it, whether they're for or against it, because at this point, I don't know if you can unring that bell. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think, so let's say whomever, let's say I run against American Cannon, and I run on the platform of, I think this stadium thing is a mistake and we need to stop it. I'm not sure what avenues there are to undo what's happening. So we'll see. I think we have some interesting, Max had an interesting bit of conversation that we were having in our group chat, and then we had it when we were actually in the room together talking about other stuff before he left town, about some of the drag dance legalities things, which I find quite interesting. Trump is entering his audience area stage thing. Sorry, I got the Trump announcement on in the background. It's 9 Eastern on Tuesday. It's pretty obvious. I would assume he's going to announce his candidacy or his intent to run for 24 for president. It would be very, very neat and interesting if he said no. I've decided it's time. It's time for me to move on and focus on my family and my businesses. That was a terrible accent. I apologize. That was bad Trump. I would be giddy as shit if he got up there and said, I'm done. But I don't think he is. And it's the same animal in the Biden campaign. I would like him to step aside too. Because honestly, I think DeSantis, as far as the Republicans bench for potential president candidates, I think DeSantis is a legitimate presidential candidate. I think Ted Cruz is going to take another run at it and get slapped in the face again. But I think the Republicans in DeSantis specifically has a good electable, not good as in a good person or not or whatever, but electable candidate in the Republican framework. And I don't think Biden is for the Democrats either, but I don't think the Democrats have a bench. I don't think Kamala is an option. I don't think, any of Elizabeth Warren, Bernie's already said he's not going to do it again. bring Tulsi back out of the woodwork. We'll see what's up. That'd be interesting if Tulsi tried to run again. She's left the Democratic Party, though, so I guess she can't. So we'll have to see. All right, Trump's taking stage. All right, I want to hear him when he's talking, so I apologize. That means you have to hear him, too. I just don't want that same race again. I don't want either party in the same race. I want new people. But I just don't think we're going to get that. Somebody smart said it. You get the government you deserve. And we deserve this. Because less than 2 million people came out in the state of Tennessee. How many people live in the state of Tennessee? 7 million people. Let's be generous and say half are kids. It's 3.5 million adults. Less than 2 million showed up to vote for governor, among other races. That's just not good enough. All right, here we go. Trumpy time. Hello, everybody. My name's Donald. Oh, shut up, people. All right, well, let them finish chanting. So I don't know. I think it sucks.
Our entire family. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It's a very special occasion at a very special place. You and all of those watching are the heart and soul of this incredible movement and the greatest country in the history of the world. It's very simple.
Of the world. And Donald
There's
Trump
never been anything like it.
Please don't go on forever. Just get to the point.
Never been anything like it, and perhaps there will never be anything like it again. There's never been anything to compete with what we have all done. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and my fellow citizens, America's comeback starts right now.
I don't know how else to take that.
2 years ago, when I left office, the United States stood ready for its golden age. Our nation was at the pinnacle of power, prosperity, and prestige.
Wrong.
Towering above all rivals, vanquishing all enemies, and striding into the future, confident and so strong. In 4 short years, everybody was doing great. Men, women,
all right, I can't do it anymore. I'll keep it.
African American.
I'll keep it rolling in the background so he officially says I'm running for president again. But we already knew it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. We got 2 more years. We'll see what happens between then and now. But I think if they indict him, it helps him. I think. We're not going to get. So here's what it should be. If you look around at the Senate and House races nationally from last week, all of his candidates lost. All of them. All the candidates that were, election deniers, Jan 6 supporter, whatever you want to call them. Anybody that Trump either pushed in or officially backed lost, except for Herschel Walker because they're going into a runoff. I don't know how you're Trump and you're not thinking, I don't know if I can do this again. But the problem here, as is the problem that I complain about all the time, is this dumbass 2-party system that gives us no option. We are stuck. You know what? Forget it. Forget Trump. Forget the whole Trump thing. Let's do what I was talking about earlier. So, state of Tennessee very likely is going to try to make public drag shows illegal. Now, there's some specific definition questions I have in that, like what is public? Like public in let's see here. All right, let me see if I can find it. Alejandra Caraballo on Twitter posted an image of Senate Bill 3 by Johnson, whoever that is. Doesn't say which Johnson. I'm sure it's not Gloria. She's not in the Senate anyway. But By the following range. Adult cabaret performance means a performance in a location other than an adult cabaret that features topless dancers, go-go dancers, exotic dancers, strippers, male or female impersonators who provide entertainment that appeals to a prurient, I don't know what that word means, interest, or similar entertainers, regardless of whether or not performers performed for consideration. It is amended by adding the following language as a new subsection. 1, it is an offense for a person to engage in an adult cabaret performance, A, on public property, B, in a location where an adult cabaret performance could be viewed by a person who is not an adult. 2, notwithstanding the subsection expressly preempts any ordinance, regulation, restriction, or license that was lawfully adopted or issued by a political subdivision prior to the effective date. So if the city of Knoxville approved a drag show in Market Square, it doesn't matter. The state law would supersede it. That's exactly what that says. B, it prevents or preempts a political subdivision from enacting and enforcing in the future other ordinances, regulations, restrictions, licenses that are in conflict with this. So Knoxville couldn't subsequently say, okay, well, we're going to say as a Knoxville ordinance that it is allowed. It's a Class A misdemeanor. First offense is Class A misdemeanor. Second or any past that is a Class E felony. It would take effect July 1, 2023, the public welfare requiring it, and applies to prohibited conduct after that date. Okay, so we knew this. I knew this, at least. I knew this was a platform agenda for Tennessee Republicans. They weren't hiding this. This shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. It was a surprise to Max because he doesn't pay attention. But this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. And so I was talking to Max about it earlier, and here is the problem. The problem is, much like the Trump-Biden situation, assuming this is what it's looking like for our 24 election, is if those are the only options I have, I then have to go into a rabbit hole of what issues are more important to me. And honestly, truth or not, more people, the majority of people, believe that Republicans are better on economic issues. That's just a fact. That people believe that. Not that they are. I want to be clear about that. They both suck on economic issues, in my opinion. But at least for the masses of people, economic issues, the Republicans are the better party at it. Okay, so if you're an individual who is apathetic, fully apathetic, not unlike myself, I don't care. I don't care what the trans community does or the LGBTQ plus people do. I don't care. I am perfectly happy with them being perfectly happy with whatever they're doing with themselves. I don't want them to not be able to do the things they want to do. Let me be clear on that. I want their freedom to do as they wish. I do think there is some decent conversation to have here about public spaces. But probably not. I don't know. It's weird. I got to think about that a little bit deeper before I comment on that and put my foot in my mouth. But, a lot of people out there struggling through, a lot of people with decent common sense are looking at the economy and all the different crazy shit that's going on in the world, looking at the Russians accidentally killing Polish people. We'll have to see what happens with that. Thinking, I don't disagree. I don't want to take the rights of this community away from them, but I need the economy to be better because trans rights or not, I got bills to pay. I think that's how a lot of people look at it. And when they go, man, I don't like what's going on with the Republicans and the trans and the gay community, I don't want them to get their way on those issues. Hopefully we can petition and call and lobby and do all the things we can do to stop them from doing that, but we need this economy fixed. We need to do better on the economy. I mean, obviously, Tennesseans passed the right-to-work law, and it's now a constitutional thing. Obviously, economics is an issue that was at play here. I don't think I don't think for the most part it's homophobia and shit like that. It's a misunderstanding. It's lack of understanding, I guess, at a minimum. But I just can't. I can't fault somebody for voting for Elaine Davis, thinking that Elaine Davis might be better on economic issues, might help them get more money in their pocket, lose less to taxes, Because I don't know. I don't. She doesn't have a track record for it. The Republicans in the state of Tennessee don't have a track record for it. Massey was in here when we did our amendment breakdown show, talking about how they're trying to figure out how to tax you to drive by the mile instead of by gas because you might not be doing gas anymore. You're a Republican, right, Becky? You're supposed to be figuring out how to take taxes off the table, not adding new ones. But there they are doing it anyway. But we don't talk about that, whatever. Point is, I can understand somebody, especially somebody who doesn't have a particularly strong connection to the LGBTQ plus community, putting their home economics above the LGBTQ plus community. Out of sight, out of mind, for lack of a better word. I don't agree with it, but I get it. I do agree with it. I don't know. I can't make the decision on what your priorities are when you vote. And if economics is a priority to you and you believe that the Republicans are better at it, I can't blame you for doing that. And I think the reality is, and I think this is something I was yelling at Max about earlier, the reality is most of us don't care. I don't care. If you want to go do a drag show, again, I think the public space things brings up a little bit of conversation. But again, it goes to, I don't know. That's not what I'm trying to get at right now, so I'm going to leave that part alone for now. We'll break that down into future conversation. But I don't care. I don't care what you do with your life, whoever you are listening right now. You shouldn't care what I do. I'm not trying to tell you how to live yours. Don't tell me how to live mine. That's kind of my general rule of thumb as this kind of thing goes. But things that I know the government controls that affect me most are not LGBTQ issues. Things the government does is tax. Send my friends to war. Make it hard for me to open my business. All those things. Those are things that I deal with. And whether the Republicans are good at it or not, well, they used to send people to war more than anybody else. But, I can understand where a voter is going like, man, I don't like this woke shit. I don't like fighting about this woke shit. I don't even like talking about this woke shit. I'm perfectly happy with it existing where I don't have to deal with it. How do you expect those people to vote? It's not transphobia or homophobia or any of those things. It's the issues that are important to them trumping the issues that are important to their next door neighbor that they may or may not even know by name. And that's how people are going to vote. And so apathy towards the LGBTQ community becomes okay, well, the Democrats suck at economics, the Republicans are good at it, I'm voting for the Republican. I feel like I droned on about that way too long for no really good punchline, but I think that's what it is. I think if we could have a ballot initiative that says, should we have weed in Tennessee? Should we have gay rights in Tennessee? Should we have trans rights in Tennessee? Should we have abortion in Tennessee? I think if we balloted all those, I think most of them would win. Some of them would be really close. Some of them would be like blowouts. But I think most of those would win. If they were written well and people understood what they were actually voting on, I think most Tennesseans, most Americans for that matter, there's polling to show it nationally at least, most Americans either don't care about weed or want it legal. An overwhelming minority of individuals, most of them being corrections officers, police unions, stuff like that, those are the ones that want to keep weed illegal. And I think the numbers would track with the other stuff. I think a lot of Americans are, como si, como sa, whatever, they don't care. You live you do you be happy. I'll do me. Don't tell me how to do me. I'll be happy. Wouldn't that be good? But we're stuck. We're stuck between a Gloria Johnson and an Elaine Davis. Different districts, I know. But we're stuck between those two. No, I mean, yeah, because they're probably more. Anyway, fine, we'll go to Kaplan and Davis, all right? We're stuck with a Kaplan who is not a particularly strong presence as a candidate. He's sort of pro-weed, but wasn't a campaign issue. His big thing was the silencing of, what was it called? Dysfunctional ideas? That's not what it was, but problematic ideas on university, which I agree with him on. But there was no economics to him. There was no, I don't know. I voted for him anyway because I couldn't vote for Elaine Davis because the thing she actually said she liked it, and strong economy was bullshit out of her mouth anyway, so that's the one. But at least on her own list of things, she wants more funds for the cops. She wants more cops and shit like that. And it's like, I don't really want more cops, so I'm not really voting for that part of you. I didn't vote for her, like I said, but, I don't know. I can see where people boil down to the simplification of the issue of money. Because again, I don't know. Because again, another thing I'm trying to figure out, I had Hanson Sale in here a while back, and I would still argue that there is much more growth in Knoxville, Knox County than the census is really clear on showing back from 2020. I think we've blown that 2010 to 2020 growth number. I think we've blown that out of the water. Like, I think we may have even doubled that in the last 2 years, or somewhere close. A lot of people are coming here, and to me, completely anecdotally, I don't know why. To me, I think there are a lot of people leaving your New Yorks, leaving your Illinois, leaving your Californias, going, I don't care to pay taxes. I just want to see it. I want to see it doing something. So I don't want to pay a lot of money for nothing when I could pay less money for nothing. And that's what Tennessee is. They tax me less and do nothing. Where the state I left taxed me more and did nothing. I don't know. That stupid meme that's going around. Prove me wrong. Like, I don't know. If anybody has a new neighbor, ask them. Send me an email. I'm really curious to know why so many people are moving here. Low taxes, great weather, easily accessible to all sorts of cool stuff, but you don't have to live in it. As expensive as it is to buy a house here, it's relatively cheap nationally. I don't think anybody's moving to Tennessee expecting any social outreach that's any good. I don't think people are moving to Tennessee expecting their governments to do a lot of stuff. I think they're like, oh, cool. They don't take much. I'm not going to get much. Sweet. I would guess that a lot of people, some parents that move their kids down here might be a little disappointed in the difference in schools, but probably not. I would bet you that like a New York City, Chicago, LA person that moved to Knoxville, they're probably from their viewpoint, these schools are equitable to them. Maybe a little worse, but not enough to mention. I don't know. Prove me wrong. Send me an email. Trump officially announced his candidacy, which to me means nobody's running against him because strategically you're fucked to try to do so. So, we'll take a break right here. Put the kids to bed. Maybe I can talk to Mrs. Indy coming in. We'll talk for a little bit. But, we need better candidates, and the two parties aren't providing them. I guess that's the moral of the whole thing. Whether it's my 18 race with Kaplan and Davis, or whether it's this new presidential 24 race that we're looking at, I'm very curious to see who starts running for some of these city races. Because I think at the end of the day, candidate quality matters, and the parties don't produce quality. Not quality for what we care about. So, I don't know. We'll be back. I don't want to turn this whole show into me harping about the same thing that I always harp about all the time. That drives me crazy. But this two-party system gives us, at least for 18. So the history of 18 for me since I started paying attention, which I only have two races for. I had the Maness-Oster race, which was a very close, very tight primary. And at least in my opinion, went against odds for Maness to hold on to it. Obviously, the party didn't want him to hold on to it, but there were people that wanted him to have it. And there were people that vouched for him in that whole fucking mess to get him in there in the first place. But I think either way, I think Oster won that. If Oster won that primary, Oster was winning the seat. But Testerman-Davis primary, Testerman wasn't, as far as I understand it, Testerman wasn't planning on running until Maness said he wasn't. Elaine Davis was running. She was running, period. Everybody knew Elaine Davis was going after Maness before he decided he wasn't going to run again. So Testerman knew when she started to run that primary that she was going up against Elaine Davis because she wasn't going to compete with Eddie. She liked Eddie, or maybe not liked Eddie, but she respected Eddie enough that she wasn't going to try to unseat him. But as soon as he said he wasn't going to do it, she's like, I'm in. And she's not a particularly centrist candidate either. She's more center than Elaine, I guess. But, you know, that was going to, you know, I don't, in real contested primaries, in my opinion, the worst candidate wins 9 times out of 10. And I think Eddie Maness was an anomaly. The exception that makes the rule is what I think Eddie Maness was. Which I'm mad at him for not running again, because I would like him to keep that up. I would like him to keep that fight, because I think that fight is needed. Not because he's gay or anything else, but because he's more reasonable. He's a reasonable human being. And these other people don't seem to be. Because I think Eddie Maness would have walked away winning 18 against Kaplan. I don't know if Kaplan would have run against Maness. So, I don't know. You know, it's just, we're not, I don't know. You know, find me a Democrat that was really happy with Kaplan as a candidate. You know, Matt's going to tell me he was, because that's his job. Well, his volunteer job thing. But, you know, he's not Gloria in that he's excitable and he's loud and he's engaging and he gets people to pay attention to things, whether they like it or not. You know, like Gloria's got that going for her, at least. Like, if Gloria is speaking, you're going to hear about it. He didn't have that. You know, Kaplan didn't have that. But I mean, Elaine didn't have that either. Like, I couldn't get a hold of her. I couldn't get any real feel for who she was as an actual person. All that trash. You know, I don't know, man. You know, when are we gonna get good candidates, good people that actually give a shit? I don't think any of these people do. A little bit more in these local races than in the, like, I mean, I would say for commission races and for some of the city races, I think you get people that actually give a shit but don't know how to play the game. And by the time you get to state races, it's more about playing the game and then whether you care about it or not anymore. You know what I'm saying? So how are we going to get better candidates to vote upon? You know, I don't know how. I just don't know. I don't see it. I don't see any reason why anybody would do any better. But the parties. Because I don't see them playing this game. I don't see any politician, for the most part, playing the game of what's in the best interest of the people whom I represent. I don't see that. Obviously, banning drag shows is not in the best interest of the community who enjoys drag shows. Is it in the best interest of the community at large? Probably not. Maybe not, but fuck, I don't know, you know. It's not, you know, like, yes, 100% there's some Karens or whatever out there that'll get crazy pissed about it. But at the end of the day, I mean, these kids are way deeper into shit that parents don't like than their parents even want to pretend to, you know, think they might possibly be. You know, so I don't know. I get some level of trying to protect kids. I do. I really do. I just don't know that that's the doable way to get there. Does that make sense? You're not going to ban it out of existence. You're not going to ban trans out of existence. You're not going to ban cross-dressers or drag shows out of existence. You know, and so like, what's the catch on this thing? Like, so if I wear a dress and walk down Gay Street, I'm not performing a show, but is that a misdemeanor? You know, it's pretty unclear on whether or not I'd get charged for lewd behavior or whatever. And again, like, lewd, what is lewd? Who gets to decide what lewd is? You know, you know, I know it when I see it. Standard is not acceptable to me, period. It needs to be, you have to be able to write it down clearly. Everybody has to understand what it is. And I don't see it coming out of one of these things. I see it passing, And it'll be a question of enforcement. You know, and then what are we going to have? Sheriff's deputies who are obligated to follow state law, but sheriffs saying, no, don't worry about it. Like, I mean, I don't know. I'd be curious. That'd be a good question. Somebody should ask Spengler if he's going to arrest people on it. You know, that would be an interesting take, you know. And while it says clearly in there that Kincannon and the city couldn't write an ordinance to supersede the state's whatever, but she could instruct the police chief to not really pay attention. The DA's office, what are they going to do about it? Goes back to this abortion thing, you know? It's the problem with the whole abortion ban. Like, is Sharm going to charge a doctor? She has the discretion to, and to not. And nobody will answer the questions. What exactly will you do if X happens? And it's not in their best interest as a political figure or a police chief or a mayor or the DA or anybody to give an answer, because any definitive answer is going to piss somebody off. And why would you defend a hypothetical? It's not worth it. So I don't know. I don't want to finish there, but I don't know what else to say about it. So anyway, you keep doing what you want to do, people. I don't care. Don't bother me none. Shouldn't bother their state legislature either. I think ranked choice voting, I think that's my solution to everything, and I'm going to stick with it. Ranked choice, ranked choice, ranked choice. How do we get this Republican legislature in the state of Tennessee to adopt ranked choice voting in the state of Tennessee? I think the only way to go at it, to me, is to try to play the cheap card. No more primaries, or the cheap card and the control card. So, hey, Republicans, you get to pick your candidate. You get together with your party, and you select who the Republican is for 18. Screw this primary bullshit, right? You guys go out there and do that. And instead of having a primary and a general, instead of having a general primary and a general every even year here in Tennessee, in Tennessee, we can just have one November election every year. For city residents, every odd year. For county residents, every even year. Well, I guess for city residents, every year. For county residents, every even year. And just one November election. So take the Testerman-Davis-Kaplan race. I don't know how that would turn out. I would assume, like, for me, I might have voted for Testerman. I didn't know her well enough. I did get to interview her, but I didn't get a good feel for her in the interview. And as things developed, I would have been interested. You know, if it was a Testerman running as an independent because the Republicans put up Elaine Davis in their they caucus and put up Davis or whatever, not caucus, convention and put up Davis or whatever. So take that set, you know. I think theoretically I vote for Testerman. Kaplan would have been 2 because I didn't like Elaine Davis. She would have been 3. I don't know. Davis might have won it. Or not, Kaplan probably would have won it, I think. Yeah. Because I think either Kaplan or Davis would have been the 3 after the initial run. Actually, maybe Kaplan would have won it. Yeah, let's theoretically, I think Kaplan would have won it because I think you would have a lot of ones. I think Kaplan would have been a lot of people's number 2. I think anybody that had Testerman would have had Kaplan as 2. Nah, that's not true. Probably the other way. You know, but it might have been more of a... yeah, it would have been... A lot of people that had Kaplan as 1, if he comes in 3rd, would have been Testerman's for 2. So I think Testerman would have won it. I think you would have the bulk would push right. I don't know. It'd be interesting. Moral of the story, it'd be interesting. But I think we would have better. I think the short term would be something like the hypothetical I put together. But the long term would be, I'm not a party player. I could run with my laissez-faire attitude about trans rights and whatnot. No, that's not true. That's not laissez-faire. You do you. My campaign slogan being "You do you." You know, trying to run on some fiscal conservative, trying to keep spending low, trying to reduce taxes where we can, But what we do tax, we spend on the appropriate things and not spend it on stupid stuff. Take what we can from the federal government, blah, 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 blah. That'd be my financial, my fiscal side of my campaign. But my social side of the campaign is do what you want, people. I'm not here to tell you about that. Legal weed, gay marriage, trans rights, whatever. I don't care. I'm not going to tell you no, I guess would be my stance on most of those issues. I'm not going to tell you no. So what does a candidate like that do in between Davis and Kaplan? If it's well campaigned and well funded and they get the message out there. In ranked choice, I think that candidate wins. Not because it's me, but because I think a lot of people don't like the social bullshittery that is the new right. And I think a lot of people don't like the social bullshittery that is the new left in a different way, but also don't trust Democrats with money. Don't trust Democrats to spend money well, and so they'd rather have them not take money, and Democrats are, they're known for taking money. So I get it. I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's any other big stories that I wanted to touch on this week. I mean, again, I think the elections results are locally are no does. Statewide, I think the federal House picked up one Republican seat. So there's one seat flipped in Tennessee from a Republican to a Democrat. So I think Tennessee is a +1 red state after this is all said and done. I don't know that for sure. I'm like I said, I'm surprised all 4 ballot items met the requirements to pass. Good on them. That's it. I think but the nationally, I guess is what I was getting at. The national election results are weird. There wasn't the red wave. The Democrats are going to hold the Senate, are actually going to pick up a seat in the Senate, and then they lost the House. But they only lost the House by a little bit, not by a ton. And a lot of these Trumpy candidates were the losers. And so, because I think, I can't remember who it was. It was on one of my podcasts I listened to. They were talking to potential voters on the side of the road or whatever. Somebody coming out of a primary or something like that. Or maybe, I don't know, somebody that identified as a likely voter or whatever, who said, I want the Republicans to control the Senate. I'm just not sure I want the Republican that's running for my Senate seat to be one of them. Basically saying candidate quality sucks. They like on the general principle, they want Republicans as they know them to be in charge. They just don't like the one that's running in their district. I think that goes both ways. I don't think that's a Republican thing, but that's just specifically what this person said. And I thought that was a fascinating insight, because I think that's why your Dr. Oz loses. I think that's why Herschel Walker's going to end up losing that seat in Georgia. I mean, I think Herschel Walker is a terrible candidate. People want a Republican, just not the one that they put up. And, well, tough titties, people. That's the way the system works. Play the game the way the game is. Quit bitching about it. No, we need to fix the game. And like I said, I think ranked choice fixes the game. I think a fucking psychopath like Trump or Herschel Walker or, hell, yeah. Let's throw a third candidate in the presidency. So we have Trump is announced. I think Biden has to run now, because I think the Democrats think Biden's the only one that could beat Trump again. And they may be right. And they may be absolutely wrong. I don't know. But, throw a strong candidate that is nothing like either one of them. Because again, I think Trump didn't win because he was good. Trump won because we're tired of Clintons. We're tired of Bushes. That's why Trump won. Trump won because this is a machine, and he's not part of it. And you know who else isn't part of it? Me. And a lot of people resonate with that thought process. Now, Trump's a psychopath. He's a fucking crazy-ass millionaire career criminal. But, you know who he's not? He's not a Clinton. He's not an Obama. He's not a Bush. He's not one of these names. He's not part of this system that has been failing us for years, and we all know it. Everybody knows it. That's what sucks. Everybody knows it. But the system just churns out these candidates that play in favor of the system, not in favor of me and you. And until we address that issue, nothing's getting better. Nothing's getting better. I can't imagine how. Why? If you're Marco Rubio or fucking Bill Lee or Tim Burchett just won his seat back again pretty strongly. Why would Burchett change anything he's doing? Now, is anybody going to rightfully look at his voting record and be like, yeah, Burchett's really looking out for me and my best interest here in East Tennessee? No, he's not. Because nobody in D.C., nobody in the federal House or Senate is looking out for me and you. They're looking out for Team Red or Team Blue. And if you really super identify as part of Red or Blue, then I guess theoretically they're looking out for you, but that's still a stretch. They don't care about your bottom line. They don't care if you have food to eat, house to live in. They're not putting any policy in place to really help you. You know, the student loan thing. Oh, guess what? That's on pause. They're not doing it anymore. But, well, the election's passed, so I guess that doesn't matter. Yes, I know it was a Texas judge, Republican, that stopped it, and he just put the announcement out. So either way, whether it was the Republican judge waiting until after the election to pull the rug, or whether the Biden campaign never really intended to do it anyway and just wanted to do the show to get it to get some votes, we'll never know. But, you know, until we have candidates that are running for me and you, and until we figure out a way to change the system to force them to do so, this is what we're going to get. Who do you think's after Trump? You know, DeSantis going to wait 4 years? Maybe. You know, and if you don't like Trump, you don't like DeSantis. You know, the running theory on DeSantis is he's Trump without the Twitter account, which is who Trump is now too. But, you know, Elon might give it back, but we'll see about that later. But, you know, I mean, Ron DeSantis, Ted Cruz, you know, one of those fucks running for president against Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg. You know, I guess Pete's, you know, finally laying into the airlines that we bailed out 2 years ago to make sure they didn't go out of fucking business, but they can't put a flight on time for anybody in the fucking planet right now. And I don't know if you guys saw that, but they fined like 10 airlines. One of them was a U.S. airline. So if you received money from the federal government during COVID stuff as an airline, you're not getting fined, even though you suck at getting people to their places on time. But the fine was for not refunding people their plane tickets when they got canceled or some shit like that. Whatever it was. Doesn't matter. Anyway, point is, that guy, Mayor Pete, want Mayor Pete to be the president? Is that a good candidate? Is that somebody you really feel like cares about you and what's going on in your life? I don't think so. You know, I think the Fetterman guy is probably one of the few exceptions on the national stage right now that at least gives the feel. Like, I feel like that guy gives a shit. I disagree with him on policy, but I feel like he's a genuine person. Most of the rest of these I don't. And we never do. So, I don't know. Packing this up, I got a Compass podcast tomorrow, actually Thursday, excuse me, and then we're doing big hunting weekend. So we'll have a boys trip podcast from the woods when I get back next week. So hopefully we can get back into routine, get some more people in here, get to talking to different stuff, and keep going. Again, I'm going to keep talking. I feel like I have some points worth making because I think until we demand better system, this is what we're going to get. And I'm open to ideas. I like ranked choice. I think ranked choice is the first number 1A solution to get us better candidates. Because once we get better candidates, we get better elected officials. We'll start getting better policy. You know, I want Republicans and Democrats and independents and any other party you want to call yourself to all get on that ballot and duke it out in one election, rank choice it out, and we'll get more consensus candidates. It will make each candidate's policy, maybe not policy, but at least it'll make each candidate's campaigning having to have a broader appeal. Because I may not be your number 1, but I want to be your number 2, right? I want to be your number 1, but if I'm not 1, I should be 2. Which may increase some of that guy's a shitbag because we want that guy to be number 3. But I think it more likely will keep you on task on here are the policies that I want. Here are the things that I want to do. Here are the projects that I want to work on that I think are important. Here are the things that I understand that we can do. So anyway, rank choice, everybody. Figure it out. Talk to you later. All right, solo show number 2, 3, 4. I don't know. I've done a couple of them. Yeah. I think we had an interesting election. Not really. It was a very predictable election. But we have some not really interesting... take that back. They're interesting, but also very predictable results. Not just of the election, but from now what the Republicans want to do, because they just now got affirmed. The people of Tennessee have spoken. They want Republicans who put away gay dancers and whatever the fuck else, some of this shit that's going to go on this year. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. We're going to have to keep on our toes. We're going to have to pay attention. We're going to have to get active. Calls and emails and protests and all the different things that we do to make sure our elected officials know that certain things aren't okay. So I want you to go ahead and figure out what district you're in if you haven't already, and figure out who your reps are, and go ahead and start sending some emails now. Send it to their personal emails, maybe not the personal emails, but their campaign emails. Ask them to put you on their mailing list for when they go into office so that you have access, and you can talk to them as often as possible. Anyway, almost agreement, everybody. Go to the website, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Thanks, bye.